Hello everyone, and welcome to the last, for real this time, Faust Normalized series episode. Today's episode, as I have mentioned before, will feature the one and only J2k. Probably the most controversial, least agreed upon button that Faust has, and probably one of the most unique ones as well. So, as always, we're going to do what we always do. We're going to cover some general information, things you should know, things you should keep in mind. Then we're going to go over uses in all sorts of places in your gameplay. When do you use, why do you use J2k, what's it good for? And at the end, we're going to do combos. And I just want to say, before I start all this, that while writing all the notes and looking at all sorts of scenarios, things I want to include and not include in the video, I realized that today there is no use, no need to lie. This will be a long video. So strap in, and one more time, let's get started. So J2k. J2k is a dive kick. It is a startup of 10 frames. So once you're in the air, 10 frames till it comes out. It is active until landing, meaning that till the moment you touch the ground, you can still hit your opponent or whatever is in your way. So keep that in mind, it will be very useful. And Dust Loop mentions it has 9 recovery until landing. Oh, after landing, sorry. And I think it is, if you think about moves like Potemkin's JD or Sin's JD maybe, you can cancel them just as you touch the ground. You can like immediately jump cancel them, right? So as you can see, if I hold up, this is not the case for J2k, so they're talking about these recovery frames. So if we didn't have that, we could like immediately go into another J2k and it might have been a bit too busted, right? Like doing something like this immediately. So that is factored in when you think about like plus frames, minus frames that you get from J2k. That is 9 frames that are factored in. J2k is a level 2 move, meaning it does have a gap between it and MixMixMix, but the gap between J2k and MixMixMix on hit on a standing opponent ever since the changes to MixMixMix. So on a standing opponent, it's a 1 frame gap, right? So it does not combo, as you can see, but it does combo on a crouching opponent due to the extra 1 frame of advantage you get on crouching opponents. So like this, as you can see, 5 combo. So that is also something we will keep in mind when we use J2k. This is something that is very important, very big change that we got the last patch. Anyway, J2k is a button a lot of people like to complain about, but when they complain about it, they don't really differentiate between the 2 big types of J2k. So there are 2 big types for J2k, and they are the high J2k, right, and the low J2k. So the ones that are like pretty close to the ground, this is even a pretty high one, but like you'll see that like this pretty close to the ground, pretty close to the ground, super close to the ground. So there are 2 types of J2ks, and we'll have to talk about them separately because they present different options and different situations. J2k can be cancelled into MixMixMix and Love, or you can just let it rock and wait till you hit the ground. This will also be important later. With that said, let's start talking about the high J2k. And this is the J2k that when you start out, you use a lot more. So you're jumping and you're trying to snap someone out of doing some move. Maybe you're targeting something specific, like a projectile. So like Kai could be like doing this, right? And you're like jumping here and you're like, oh, I can react to this. Since Faust doesn't have a normal air dash, reacting with an air dash is a bit more difficult, right? If you like jump, and you react with it with an air dash, by the time you can cancel it, the opponent already recovers it. Maybe they can even anti-air you. So with J2k, this is not the case. You can just react with it. So this is true to a lot of projectiles. You do this to Soul's Gunflame, to Kai's projectiles. Let's look at a few characters so I can just like name a few before I continue. You could do it with Maze Beach Ball sometimes. Axel Low, you do it with a lot of his moves. Super important button in this matchup. You don't really use it against Chip. Against Chip, it's not very good. You can use it against Potemkin Slidehead. You can use it against Faust as well, into his item toss. Milia, sometimes you'll catch her, but not that often with like a counter hit like this on reaction. You'll use it against Eddie a lot of times to snipe out Eddie, against Ram Swords, Leo's projectiles, sometimes against Nago, but not too often. Giovanna, also not too often. Anji against his butterfly, Ino against her projectile, or sometimes against her stroke, or sometimes also against her chemical love. Go Lewis minigun, as you can see, it's like super effective in so many matchups to snipe out options like Testament, obviously, Bridget with her yo-yo. Anyway, as you can see, super useful button in a lot of matchups that you can use to react with, as Faust lacks an air dash to react with and punish an opponent. So it kind of substitute that, as it kind of travels this kind of distance. So a lot of time in the beginning, you'll use a lot of J2Ks, and you might not just use them reactively, you just throw them out in neutral. And this puts you in the RPS situation. Now, the RPS is something you have to understand when you use J2K, because sometimes your opponent, even if you don't want to do a high J2K, will force it by dash blocking, right? So your opponent might be doing something like this, right? And oops, the spacing that you wanted, like you wanted to do this J2K, right? The low one, but you got this one. So it's really important to learn what's the RPS after a high J2K, and let's learn it right now. So after high J2K, you can cancel into two options, right? You can either do Love or MixMixMix. So let's say you do Love. Love is a highly punishable button. Generally speaking, if you do Love in these situations and your opponent reacts to it, you're fucked. Every single character can punish it, every single one. The only few ones that kind of struggle are characters like Bedman. They're just incredibly sluggish, that even on a read are not the best at punishing Love. So there are like a few characters that struggle a bit more, but generally speaking, all characters can punish it on a read, and most characters can properly punish it on reaction. And by proper punish, I mean a big fat counter hit that will send your Faust all the way to suffering. So make sure that when you use Love, you don't do it just without thinking about it, because it is dangerous. Well, what's the other option? MixMixMix. And before you say MixMixMix is punishable, from the angle that you do MixMixMix after J2K, you can often make J2K into MixMixMix safe. And what do I mean by that? I'll show this by facing another Faust. I'm not going to be lazy today because we're talking about an important button to understand. So let's record the Faust doing J2K into MixMixMix and kind of show how that looks like. Since J2K has a gap into MixMixMix, I can't set the opponent to mash. So let's just first show this in the corner, then in mid-screen, right? So doing a J2K, a high one like this, okay, as you can see, I'm like trying to block afterwards, and let's see how this looks like. I'm trying to mash. Okay, it seems like it's not punish. Now, granted, in some situations, you'll be able to grab, but as you can see, even grab wasn't a punish here. Now, okay, here was a punish. So, as you can see, this MixMixMix is about -3 to -4, depending on the spacing. So, against Soul, maybe you don't want to do it as much, but against most characters who have only a 5 frame as their fastest option, especially if they're FDing you, because you'll see that if I FD, there is no grab, and often they will FD you. So, especially in these situations, you can make MixMixMix relatively safe. Now, what is the danger, right? Well, MixMixMix can be 6-speed. Now, Faust is a pretty unique example of this situation, where like Faust 6-speed is a dead zone. So when I say Faust is really good against Faust, I'm not kidding. Other characters can 6-speed there. Faust will have to use, like, yeah, as you can see, a 2K. It will trade sometimes depending on the spacing, but it is what it is. But as you can see, not a very good option for Faust. Other characters can just 6B there on block. On hit, it's a different case. As we said, there is only a 1 frame gap between on hit into MixMixMix. So no matter what you do there, you're going to lose, right? See, like this is like also something that is like unique to Faust, like this 2K, since it makes him kind of like close to the ground. It makes the MixMixMix hit a bit later, but again, pretty unique to Faust situations. But yeah, as you can see, MixMixMix is the safer option out of the two, generally speaking. So like, if you're in this situation, you get a high J2K, MixMixMix is your safer option. Love will extend your pressure if they do end up blocking it, and will synergize better with items. As you can see, if you do have items in play, of course, everything changes, and J2K is empowered a lot by items. We're going to cover that later. So remember all these tips and mash them with the item tips later. So that's option number 2, doing MixMixMix. And let's just show this in mid-screen. You'll see that like if the opponents can fuck with your mix, like driving by crouching at like different times, right? Changing like the timing where you hit them. But as you can see, even mid-screens, this is the same recording over like different situations. So sometimes like you'll have to adjust to what your opponent is doing. But you can sometimes make it safe even there, as you can see. So generally speaking, Mix is the safer option, and that is working in your favor, because in case you need to confirm a low hit into MixMixMix, Mix is already the safe option. It's what you want to be throwing out in the first place. So that's working out for you. Low hit meaning if you did like a... Sorry, wait, let me try and... Yeah, like this, right? So Mix is the safer option, and generally what you want to confirm into if you do get a hit. Also a counter hit. So that's great. But we said there's an RPS, and what is the third option? The third option is simply letting it rock, not pressing anything. And you might ask, why would I ever do that? Okay, seems like on a reaction, opponents can just punish me. So what's the point of it? Right? It's like, look how much time I have to punish them. Okay, big punishes incoming, especially from like characters with like a bit better like normal hit combos. Okay, so what is the point of just letting it rock on a high J2K? And for that, I need to change characters again to kind of show what is the problem. Let me do it with Ram Lethal, one of my favorite characters to hate on. So J2K, as you may have noticed, has a gap between MixMixMix, but also has a gap between Love to J2K. So if our opponents are smart, which is sometimes the case, right? We give them credit where credit is due, just like sometimes, not often. Sometimes we have to tell them they can do this. If you do MixMixMix, or if you do Love, a character with a strong super will just hit both options. Well, what happens if you just don't cancel? Well, this is how you beat super. So if your opponents are kind of aware of the options, of course, this wouldn't always work. As you can see, this was a pretty high one, but it still managed to block. So if your opponents are aware of this option, you might want to keep the letting it rock option in mind. Just in case, you know? And throw them a nice punish. So that's the RPS. I really recommend learning, mastering, thinking about it on your own time, what you prefer doing, and practicing maybe the MixMixMix steering to make sure you're as safe as you could be after your J2Ks, because this situation probably happens so much to you. And people are right. We are using J2K a bit like monkeys sometimes. So make sure you're a safe monkey. Once you get meter, J2K becomes a different button completely. So from this decent poke that is very good when you're trying to kill someone because they don't have any health left, but very dangerous, high risk, low reward situation, J2K becomes very strong. And why is that? J2K presents a lot of interesting situations. So I covered this in the ways to cheese a snip, snip, snip video, but you have a ton of cancels you can do to try and create a snip situation. Now, this is not just to cheese snip, of course. You can just do a low afterwards or do an overhead, right? So there are a lot of ways to use J2K fast RCs. So as you can see, right, you can either check them with a mid, do a low and threaten the low. You could do an immediate overhead as well into another fuzzy catch. So I'm trying to show that like this. So if the opponent would try to wait, sorry, switch on seconds, I think works. Oh no, it doesn't work here. So here they're trying to hold down, right, to block the low. As you can see, if they do that, they will get hit by the fast JH. You can also just do MixMixMix after J2K and do all the cancels we do from MixMixMix, right? So we got like, sorry, I'm being confused right now by myself. So we got all the fake mix into grab. We got mix into overhead, right? And of course, mix into low, right? Which you do faster if you're a good player. Anyway, so getting meter for J2K is super useful. Of course, you can just do a hard RC to confirm a hit. Sometimes you'll get these like random hits from people just like dashing like this, right? So like they're dashing and right, they're dashing and you want to get a hit in, and you can get something like this, and this will combo from mid screen into like very nice combos, right? So I'm going to show this again in the combo section, remind me, okay? But sometimes you just want a hard RC to cash in on this nice damage. And what happens if they block it, right? You can still mix them up. So after this, you can still land into a grab. You can still do a low, right? All these options are still there. You can also do a J2K mix to cross them up. So you have a lot of options that are going to play into your hands. Now, we talked a bit, say a bit, but we probably talked like, what, 10, 15 minutes on the high J2K? Let's talk a bit about low J2K, this neutral use, right? We covered this, what happens when you block it, what you can do with meter to it, right? You can do all sorts of things. And technically, you can also do Love RC. I don't recommend this. I don't think it's good. So just for the record, don't do that. Let's talk a bit about the low one, the one that we strive to get, right? This one is safe. It is such a nice poke. It is very cool to do. I'm doing it a lot with these kind of back air dashes, and we're going to talk about that in a moment too, right? You can do so many things with it, and so safely. You don't even need meter. So this low J2K is probably the float like a butterfly, sting like a bee for Faust. So you're basically looking to space yourself as low to the ground as possible when you connect to the opponent. This will, one, make you more plus when you hit. So let's just compare. Before, they could punish us on block, and now, let's say they do like 5p, right? This is a punish, and if I hit here, I will counter hit them. As you can see, we can create a very plus situation with it. This can also happen when you're doing... wait, let me try and show this. Like this kind of J2K. So you can set it up from like a JK, landing JK. So just remember that sometimes you'll do like this kind of like landing JK, and it'll just be plus, right? See my close slash trading. Oh, sorry. I'm pretty sure I can make my close slash trade with a 5p. I'm not getting close slash there, and that might be the problem. Yeah, there we go. Oh, we even beat it. So that was, what, +4 probably. which I think is the maximum for J2K. I could be wrong with this one, don't quote me, but I think maximum for J2K is like +4, where like your close slash would beat a 5-frame jab. But yeah, you'll see that if I go for a 5P, we'll pretty cleanly defeat our opponents. So these kind of low J2Ks, whether you set them up with a JK or you just get them like in neutral, are very, very nice situations for you. Now, technically, opponents have no idea what they're doing here, so it's all up to you to know how to use the situation according to the matchup you're in. Throwing out 2Ps is relatively safe and will beat out a lot of opponents' options, especially since it does low profile. If your opponent like to throw these kind of like low profile, fast hits, like all these 2Ks, right? Doing another J2K right after one of these low ones is actually very good. It will whiff punish a lot of other moves, like these 5Ps, right? But will also usually catch the low moves, which will grant you a combo and a MixMixMix confirm if you are capable of doing it. Let's just show a bit of a crouching 2K there. So you'll see that like, sorry. Wait, sorry. I'm doing like a bit of a, too much of a high one. I don't know why I'm not pressing 2P in time. You can see like my Faust is crouching or something there. So as you can see, this clashes if you space it right, and sometimes you'll lose or whiff punish the opponent. If you don't, right, this is like you being a bit minus maybe. So this is like option number one, but if you just go for another J2K, you just get a hit. So very nice. If you're close enough, of course, you'll get a combo there. Let me try and demonstrate that. It's a bit hard to get in these situations. I'll just do it from a bit closer, maybe. Yeah, okay. And again, it depends on the character you're facing. Like characters like Axel or HC will often press 2K there. But then like characters like Soul will probably press like either 5K or their 2K, right? So it really depends on the character you're against. Keep these things in mind, right? As you play with it. Anyway, this J2K is very, very nice and strong. You of course don't even have to press anything. You can just look at what your opponent is doing and just target whatever they're doing, right? And take your turn afterwards. Right? They can press this and you can like, oh, they whiffed. I'll just press far slash and maybe gain some more meter. Or maybe I'll even get the punish there, which would be really nice. If they like pressing, of course, 5H becomes really, really strong. As you can see, the spacing makes it so you don't extend your hurt box to get hit, but you will beat out a lot of opponents' options and wolf punish them. Of course, if opponents like pressing big buttons, that's where 2P and J2K come into play. And of course, you can always just backdash away since you're relatively safe, or just jump backwards, see what the opponent is doing, and react. So this low J2K is very, very strong whenever you can get it. It's a very strong poke as well against people who are dash blocking against you, because people who are dash blocking, they're already irritated that they have to dash block. Nobody likes doing it, so they're just like, oh damn, this Faust player, he's pushing me back with these like 5Hs, and I'm dash blocking, trying to get my way in, right? Oh, these far slash 5H, so annoying. And then like they get this thing and they get annoyed so much by the bee sting, which will make them start throwing out moves, which is great for you. If you can force your opponent to start throwing out 6 Bs for this low J2K, you're doing great, you're winning. Okay, so keep these things in mind. This will force your opponent to kind of do something preemptively, and that's when you can start cashing in on these like 2Ds, like 2Hs, 5Hs sometimes, or just like whiff punishes. So that's great. That's a great J2K use. Now, this J2K doesn't change that much with meter. Usually, you don't really need meter to play around with it. So you can start using it from the get-go, and you don't really need to change your approach to it once you have meter. Or even once your opponent has meter, because it doesn't have a lot of counterplay outside of either calling it out preemptively or to just dash into it and make it become a high J2K. So of course, that's the most normal counterplay. Like if your opponent wants to make you stop doing these low J2Ks, and if he can dash into it, right, he'll make it into a high J2K. So here, oh, I'm suddenly right above you, right? And now I can do the RPS we talked about earlier, which is in his favor. Right? Because Love is reactable, and MixMixMix is either punishable or just giving him his turn. So keep these things in mind. If your opponent is dash blocking really well, maybe push them a bit more with 5H, and then look for the J2K, because 5H has all that pushback. Look, they're so far away. So keep that in mind. You can, of course, create specific J2K traps by pressing things like 2D or 5H. As you can see, if an opponent would want to dash after them, so like let's set them after block to do a little bit of a dash block. Oh, sorry. Right, so doing a bit of a dash block after this. Are they not set to do it, or what's going on? Was it saved? Are they doing it? Yeah, okay, great. So after this, you can set up like, you see how kind of like the synergy between moves like 2D and 5H now work with low J2K? So that's kind of like how you can set it up. You can set up your opponent to run into it, which is great for you. Anyway, keep these things in mind. They're really, really important. I mentioned like low J2K as like a frame trap in the close slash and 5K videos. You can jump cancel into them. This is useful sometimes. Keep it in mind. I don't think I have to talk about it right now, as we already covered that subject before. Okay, great. So let's move on to the next topic, and the next one is J2K as the opponent has no HP. So what am I talking about, basically? J2K, when your opponent is low on health, becomes one of the most potent ways to kill someone. So why is that? It's because we have this. So J2K and 2P together become a killing machine once the opponent is 1 or 2 hits away. Let me put him on like 5, or that's 6, so 5. Yeah, so right now, if my opponent gets hit by a J2K, they might not die necessarily. Yeah, I don't think they will die. I think they need just a bit more, right? Yeah. But it's a very scary situation. So you're like in a hit and a chip situation from J2K and 2P. And that's a situation where like Faust can start being super comfortable, just throwing out these kind of like low J2Ks, 2Ps, where basically 2P will beat like all the 6Ps, a lot of the deep dashes 2P beats, and then J2K will beat everything else, because they'll just whiff punish a lot of things or just trade with them. So J2K and 2P become a killing machine set towards the end of the round if you get your opponent low enough. So very important to keep in mind. This is the situation where you can start throwing out these kind of like back air dash J2K, back air dash J2K, jump J2K, like this. Just play around with your opponent, see how they react to it. Throw a lot of 2Ps as well to keep them from getting into your zone where J2K becomes a high J2K, where you're not happy with it, right? So you want to make sure they're out of the zone and then that you're J2King them to death, okay? That's a very important J2K fact to remember. Another J2K situation you want to use, and let's just get our health back up, is in the corner. And when to use J2K in the corner? I did make a video on this before, but let me just show this one time, as I've heard questions about it before. And this is what I'm doing here. What I'm doing here is basically a frame kill, auto timing your close slash meaty. And let's just show how it works. So let's just say your opponent likes to, you know, I did it on block, didn't I? My bad. So yeah, let's just say your opponent likes to throw, or backdash, or jump when they wake up. So let's just tell them to do it randomly. So you as a Faust player, maybe you're not a big fan of it, and your opponent doesn't have a reversal, either because they don't have meter to do it, or because they don't have a reversal at all. So instead of risking yourself with a safe jump that can be played around with, they could like try to sneak around with a backdash, you have this J2K, which will auto time a meaty that will catch backdashes, will hit the throws, and will also catch the jumps. So good for you, I guess, because that sounds pretty strong. So make sure you use this. The way you do it is you simply do a close slash OTG from any like hard knockdown into an immediate J2K. When I explain it, it becomes harder to do to me, right? An immediate J2K, and then you mash close slash. Now you could mash 5K, but 5K is 6P'able in wake up, so maybe don't do that. Just do close slash. Okay, so this is how it looks like. As you can see, it catches the backdashes, it catches jumps under startup, and it catches the throws. There's a modified version of this trick, which I made a video on, against Baiken specifically. So let's just show Baiken real quick. Look at me today, being so not lazy. Good for me. So against Baiken, you will modify this by doing a slight walk back after the J2K into a close slash. And the reason you do that is so you're avoiding parry. And let's just show how that looks like. Okay, so I think parry is Hiragi, I believe. Hiragi. We got jump queued in. We got the backdash queued in, right? Or like, let's queue the throw. So what you're doing here is basically the same thing, but instead of doing immediate close slash, you'll do like a slight walk back into close slash. Now, this will require a bit of practice to make sure you don't get anything you don't want to, but as you can see, the slight walk back avoids the grab. Okay, the jump, they will either block it immediately, that's usually what happens, or if they're fuzzy jumping, they will get hit too. But they won't be able to get out, so you're basically getting an air block jump. Let me just maybe show this real quick before we move on. So the slight walk back makes it so you can't catch the startup frames, but you will force them to block, giving you basically another close slash, giving you a lot of risk, giving you a lot of meter, and you can force maybe some fun stuff on the opponent, or a nice strike throw on the opponent. Both are nice. This will of course be good against backdash as well. Just let me prove it real quick here. Right, we'll still hit the backdash, and you can of course still threaten your grab on wake up. This is like the part I didn't mention earlier, that in all these situations you can use oops, that's not what I wanted. So in all these situations you can still go for a grab, right? As long as you don't whiff it like I just did. So make sure you're close enough and that you don't mistime it. But you're basically getting a strike throw in Oki. Yeah, that's how it looks like. You can either do the close slash against Baiken, you can do the delayed close slash, and you got the immediate grab. Now, remember, against Baiken, the only thing that beats the delayed close slash is mashing, okay? Even super can be cancelled into FD. Technically, I can show this. I've shown this in the other video. Let's see if I still have it. I practice it every now and then, but then I stopped doing it for like 2-3 weeks, and then I absolutely fumble it when I get to recording it. Let's see if I got it. Nah, I'll try it like 5 times. Okay, so that was 1. That was 2. Okay, you could see the close slash starting. I think I got it. No, that was 3. Will I get on the 5th one? Oh, right on the 5th. I was just doing it to be dramatic. I could do it the entire time, I promise. Anyway, this delayed close slash is super good against Baiken. It is also good against a few other characters, sometimes to check them for all sorts of options, but it only loses to mash, which will be beaten by just a normal close slash, the normal FrameKill setup. But with that said, let's go back to a normal, less monkey character, just slightly less monkey, Kai. And just to hammer the point through, J2k FrameKill, very, very strong. It's good in the Zato and HC matchups. They don't have reversal, so you can just abuse them. It's also good against Faust, because Faust super is not the best, so he's not often throwing it out, and it might not even come out on time to punish you. So all in all, doing this frame kill, close slash, J2K immediately into a close slash. Okay, that's how it looks like. That's how it goes. And it's really, really nice. I recommend trying it, using it, and yeah, use it in your gameplay. So that's another use for J2K, a frame kill. Now, since we already covered like J2K, hi J2K, I want to mention an OS that you can do. The words OS are pretty gone from conversation from what I can collect. Like, people don't really do many OSs except for backdash catches and things of the sort. But Faust can actually OS J2K into MixMixMix confirm, and that's how it looks like. Now, I don't necessarily recommend you do it because sometimes you don't want to get love even on normal hit or block, right? So sometimes let's do block is random, but be it counter hit. So let me just make sure this, like, yeah, okay. So basically the way it works is you'll input J2K into love, and then you'll input MixMixMix. Now, I do this sometimes in my matches, and you can see that I'm inputting love first and then MixMixMix. But if you do it properly, whenever you get a counter hit, the stun from the counter hit will make it so, as you can see, MixMixMix comes out and the love does not come out. Now, you may have heard of this OS before. I don't think it's particularly difficult, but you need to know when you want to use it. Basically, you don't want to throw it out just like anytime you're doing, because sometimes getting MixMixMix is just better than getting love anyway. So this is just something to keep in mind. This is like something you might want to do if you think like you want to do love unless you get the counter hit, right? Or like, yeah, like in these kind of situations, maybe it's like a very low kind of J2K like here, and you do want to get the counter hit into MixMixMix, but otherwise you want to get love. So like, just keep that in mind. The way you do it is technically simple, but okay, now I started dropping it because my hands are getting tired. To do it in a match is maybe a bit less easy. Oh, I'm just dropping the input. Now I can see why it's not working. For some reason, I'm dropping the input. Yeah, my hands are just getting tired from doing it a few times. So anyway, the way you do it, MixMixMix, you input love as fast as you can, then you input MixMixMix. Let me show it on counter hit only. Oh, he's blocking now. Oops. Yeah, okay. So that's how it looks like on counter hit, on normal hit, or on block, you'll get love. Up to you if you want to use it. There are, like, again, few situations where it's really worth and some where it's really not. Because as I said, MixMixMix is the option you want to go with, generally speaking. And now let's get to J2K with items. And J2K, in my opinion, is super empowered by items. I took a quick look at the clock and I saw the time. I'm not afraid, okay? That's all I want to say. I said the video will be long. Anyway, J2K is heavily empowered by items, and the reason that is because no matter what item you get, it always lets you get a test with a J2K. And why is that good? As you could see, J2K could make an item combo into it, or the opposite. It will make like a falling item suddenly combo. So you can do something like, right, like a J2K right before something is about to hit, like a weight maybe, a weight maybe, or a mini Faust, right? You see how they kind of comboed from the J2K. A hammer could suddenly like fall right after and cover your J2K recovery. Like meteors as well. Like, you kind of get the idea. Like, you throw an item and you see like you could push them with the J2K to block it. You can sometimes like J2K to pick up a trumpet, right? This like a classic thing, sets up your close slash OTG. Where's the trumpet now? Okay, trumpet, 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 trumpet. Whenever you want trumpet, it never comes out. There it is. So you can like use J2K to kind of like pick an item up as well, like with trumpet or with the food. So all these options are like fairly decent with J2K. So J2K with like every single item, almost, I guess, you have like some synergy. You can use it to push people into an afro, all sorts of things. And maybe the last thing that you can use for the record, sometimes, you know how you get like bananas, and wow, I'll never get used to this. You get like banana and banana Oki, lol, right? All these silly things. Technically, right, you can see banana, if you do get the hit, you can make a combo, but if the opponent actually blocks, since banana resets your opponent's like stun, you can immediately grab them without doing the delay that you usually have to do, right? So, right, you can immediately go for a grab, right? And just makes this situation a bit stronger. So all these like grab cheeses become a bit better. You can consider this, since like usually when you throw out a banana, you can't really run into the opponent. As you can see, the banana kind of stands in your way and you don't want to slip on it, right? If you do something like this and you slip, doesn't feel good. I'm mostly talking about this one, yeah, the banana peel. So just in case you want to use it and you don't want to give up your pressure, that's like an option you can use. Of course, you'll need meter to do it, but if you don't have meter, you can still do the J2K into MixMixMix. And maybe if they're slipping on the banana, you'll get a combo, right? So not too bad. But as I said, with every single item, there is like some synergies. Of course, like if you get, maybe I'll show the 100 weight ton. 100 ton weight, sorry. Technically, you can create cross-up situations with J2K into mix. Oh, it's like it's a computer, so I'll have to record it as always. One more change into Faust, and I think after that we can move into combos. Yeah, I'm looking at my notes discreetly as we're changing characters. Yeah, I think we can move into combos after this. I think we could do that. So let's record Faust tosses an item, and Faust is a bit taller, so it's a bit harder to do it on Faust, funnily enough. I don't know if I got it right now. Yeah, okay. So as you can see, like I was blocking the weight because it resets your, like it doesn't have left right protection because it's a guard crush. Can set up like a high J2K into a mix. So it's another way to use items to make J2K strong. So these are all sorts of ideas you can use. Remember, there's a ton more. If you do like a mini Faust, I think, okay, this is the last one I'm mentioning, okay, because I'm trying to move into combos. So if you got like a mini Faust and you do like this kind of thing, you can use it to cover for you and kind of distract the opponent, do a landing grab. Let me just show how this looks like. It's like, let's say you got this like, oh, I kind of fucked it up. I wanted to show it from like an Oki situations. Wait. Yeah, like this. So you can time these kind of things. In game, of course, it's more difficult. But if you do get it, it looks pretty cool, right? The opponent is afraid of the upcoming mini Faust onslaught, so they might not be attacking you. Of course, there's a gap there. You can be hit out of it, and it does not feel good. You do have mix if you want to be more safe, I guess. So it's like up to you what you want to go for. But yeah, these are all sorts of options to make items stronger with J2K. I think J2K really, as a button that introduces a lot of risk, is benefiting a lot from items. So once you got items in play, start playing around with it, and yeah, just have fun with items. You know, that's the Faust experience. And finally, we're getting to combos. Okay, finally. So combos with J2K. We'll start with grounded combos. So on normal hit, nothing, but if the opponent's crouching, as we said earlier, combos into mix. So depending on the spacing, you will or won't get a close slash there. right? Faust is a bit like easier to combo into actually than other characters. A lot of times you'll have to do like a 5k Kara mix, which even here dropped. Yeah, like this. A lot of times you need to do this. Sometimes you can get the close slash. Otherwise, just going for that like run up close slash OTG. Nothing wrong with it. It is solid. Like the damage difference, not the biggest. As you can see, 120 versus versus 87. So 30 damage is damage. Don't get me wrong, but it's not worth dropping your combo over. Of course, if you're closer to the corner, you can get like better combos, right? And break the wall even. So let me just show that real quick. Bum, 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 bop, 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 bop. And like a JD would be enough to break the wall. Remember, on heavies, this combo almost never or never, depending on the spacing. So just keep that in mind. You can do this on light characters and Faust very easily though, so I recommend it. Otherwise, just a close slash 2S mix ender is perfectly fine, right? Something nice like this doesn't break the wall, but gives you like nice damage, puts him at the wall with the wall, ready to be broken by like a 5B stagger. So not bad at all. So that's like the normal hit combos. Otherwise, J2K doesn't combo into anything, as you can see. I can try and show like a... You can technically make it plus enough on hit to combo into 5P. Yeah, like this. And then you can do this combo. The MixMixMix usually drops there. I never made it so the MixMixMix doesn't drop and finishes, but you can just avoid the drop and pull back at the end, right? This is not a very common situation, so yeah, as you can see, you just kind of pull back at the end and you get your kind of hard knockdown. Anyway, these are the normal hit combos on the ground. Once you're getting these counter hits, right? Well, now things are different. Now it combos when they're standing, they're crouching, doesn't matter, right? And the normal confirm is mix, mix, mix. Whether it's high or low J2K, that's the normal confirm that you want to get. And usually afterwards, you'll follow up with a close slash into mix, mix, mix. Be careful, not dropping a mix, mix, mix combo. Of course, going for a close slash 2S is possible. As you can see, it can sometimes towards the end drop the opponent. So be careful with it. If you want your close slash OTG, just going for a close slash is fine. You're not missing on a lot of damage, right? So it is very, very nice. Or if you want your item toss and meaty, you can of course always go for a 5k car mix, which will push your opponent even further into the wall. Or if you are in some matchups, you can get a nice bounce and get the opponent into an air combo. Yeah, like this. As you can see, 5k JH. This is like kind of important at the wall. If you're crossing someone up, you can get things like this. Pretty big combos. So yeah, I'll mention this again in a moment, don't worry. So counter hit, that's generally what it looks like. Sometimes when you're low J2Ks though, you'll be too close to the ground to get a mix, 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 right? Like here. Or like maybe you don't react in time, right? And this doesn't combo anymore. What do you do? So you got three main options. One is the far slash 2H. That is like usually the one you see people go for. The reason you see people go for it is because it has the most range and it's the most consistent. So it's actually the weakest one technically, but it's just the most consistent, so people go for it often. So that's option number one, far slash 2H. You toss out an item. You feel okay with yourself. Not the best maybe, but you feel okay. Option number two is going for a 5k 2D. As you can see, still combos. Now, if you're not careful or if you're too far from your opponent, right, it may not combo. So just make sure that you're doing it when you're close enough or when you have enough time, right? 5k 2D here whiffed. So 5k 2D into item is one of the better options in my opinion, especially in cases where you want to keep your opponent close. So what's the third option? That isn't mix, 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 of course. is 5H. And as you can see, the reason why people don't do it is because it's slightly slower. Slower by 1 frame exactly. Okay. So 5HH, that's how it looks like. You can toss an item or two. And yeah, it's a very nice option. But if you do whiff it, then it's bye-bye combo. Now, this 1 frame may seem like, oh, it's not a big deal, but this 1 frame is actually a big deal, okay? It's actually a very big deal. This 1 frame difference is actually what will or won't make your combo consistent. So that's why you see many Faust players go for that 4/2H, even though it does not give a hard knockdown. That's like your options on grounded counter hits. Of course, just running up for a command grab is a valid option. A lot of people don't see this coming, so you can use that too. As you can see, the damage is pretty much the same, but you get an afro, so maybe it's better. So these are like the grounded counter hits that you can get, all the options here. Of course, when you're at the wall, everything's a bit easier. You can get all these kind of crazy combos, the ones I showed earlier, right, to break the wall, or sorts of things like that. Now let's talk a bit about if you're back to the wall. You'll see a lot of J2Ks if you're back to the wall, because kind of like a panic button for Faust. If you're like at the wall, maybe you're trying to snuff out like people going like for a run of plow or something. So you'll see this a lot. Often the combo you'll do is just something like this, right? The close slash, mix, carries the opponent, right? Super nice. Sometimes you'll be high enough, and this happens a lot when you punish grabs or when you punish all sorts of projectiles at the wall, or like after I get a B maybe into like a counter hit punish, and then you can get these kind of like side switch combos, right? You want to make sure you steer correctly so you do get the bounce afterwards. So like you're doing something like a forward into 2. So you can see I'm holding like 6 and then I do 2 and I can get the pickup. It's like very nice. You can use either the close slash 2S mix or close slash JK mix. Just make sure that you're doing them cleanly, or you do get to drop the mix. Just doing close slash is also fine, like in all cases. So that's how it looks like in order to kind of side switch and grab the wall for yourself. If you do want to go for 5K, that's also an option. You don't even have to Kara afterwards. Like Kara is an option if you want it. But like just 5K into mix will work and will still give you that close slash OTG. So you're not dropping the combo or anything. And yeah, these are all sorts of options you can use when you're counter hitting against the wall. Now let's add meter into the bunch. And first, let's talk about normal hits with meter. So one hit that I really recommend learning, one confirm, I should say, is remember how like earlier we did this confirm, right? Not confirm, sorry, this like trick to get mix, to get snip. Well, if you cancel into JH, you can actually just confirm a combo like this. So that's like, once you confirm somebody is whiffing something and you're doing a J2K, you can get the, come on, this is like something simple. You can get this confirm. It is very, very nice. Lets you throw out some items, zone your opponent. Right, 1, 2, and you're having a lot of fun. You do want to keep in mind sometimes you want to stay close to the opponent, and in these situations you can go for either a mix that is like perfectly fine. As you can see, this combos it will be like normally this won't like pick up. I want to say that there's like a situation where you can pick up from this against light characters. But I could be wrong, so I'm not gonna check it right now. Anyway, this confirm is really, really nice. So either into the 5HH or into the close slash 2S mix or into close slash mix. All options are viable depending on what you're looking for. Of course, once you're in the corner, this whiff is like way more potent. You get your like 5HH, you do mix, and 6H to break the wall. Very nice damage for a fast RC with punish, and as you can see, it's super potent, gives you the positive bonus. So very useful at the wall. If you are over here, like your back's to the wall and you just confirm this, going for like the fast RC is good. Come on. Right? You might want to stop the combo in order to grab the opponent into the wall or do a snip, snip, snip. But going for this kind of like forward red RC, which is super common in cases where you're punishing because sometimes it's just like an extended hurt box that you're punishing. So let's show this kind of like this. Right. Let me push him even further away. Right, like here. Here, if I would have done mix, 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 it wouldn't have comboed. Right? There's no combo. But if you do go for red RC like this, you sometimes can connect it. As you can see, sometimes it wouldn't even connect because of like how far Faust extends its hurt box. But against a lot of characters, it does work. So a lot of times you'll see this kind of situation, right? The forward red RC. Now, of course, you can do it when you're like mid-screen. We showed it earlier where you do something like this into a full combo, right? So this is like an option. Or we saw earlier that you could do also a close slash 2S mix, mix, mix into a 5k JK JD. Remember, not against the heavies, but definitely works against like a nice portion of the cast. So these are options you can do mid-screen. In the corner, you can simply do one of our loop combos, right? B&B, this is not necessarily optimal, but it is high damage and consistent. You can immediately jump like this to kind of like save some height, get a bit more damage, right? 193, and I think I could be wrong on this. I think, yeah. I think this is the optimal combo you can do. 204, super high damage. It does require you to confirm upwards and do like a landing JH. It's like a bit of a difficult combo to do in a game. So just keep that in mind. Like, don't feel bad if you can't get it. Yeah. It is pretty like technical. Not necessarily so. Right, you can fix it if you're too far for a close slash 6H. You can fix it with like a 5k. But then as you can see, the damage goes a bit downwards. So I would personally recommend learning this jump combo. So like you RC, you jump JSJH. Remember, after you RC, you can just jump in the air. You don't have to land first. So just going for something like a JSJH, close slash JSJH, close slash JD, into 6H or super, whatever you prefer. I think it's a very solid combo. I recommend learning it. It is very consistent, so keep it in mind. Now, once you're with your back to the wall, which remember is when we use J2K a lot because we're panicking. So if you're doing this, it's a bit harder to change sides, right? I did make a video on this on the past, but I'll just mention a few of the solid options. So you'll see that if you do forward RC and you try to run under, impossible. How do I change sides? Now, if you do get a backwards RC, this is pretty simple, right? You can get like one of these like easy combos, not break the wall, or go for one of these combos, 6H, break the wall, do nice damage, right? Even on normal RC, as you can see, same combo still applies. But if you do that forward RC, you have a few options. Okay, now option number one is doing a TK mix. Now, that option is a bit difficult, not gonna lie, but you can do it if you practice, right? So that's option number one. As you can see, I'm doing TK mix, close slash 2S, pushing in with mix. Sometimes if you're afraid of dropping, you'll just do just TK mix into close slash mix, mix, mix. That's okay. You at least got the corner, and that's what matters in these situations a lot of the time. So corner, super valuable. You steal it like that. Another option you can do is a jump, right? And the way you want to jump there is like this, okay? Now, I don't land this often in games, but it is doable. So I'm just putting it out there. As you can see, it's another way to steal the corner. You're basically forward RCing into a jump, and you want to jump pretty fast, okay? So if you just forward RC, you don't really get out. Let me actually change the spacing so it's like people can see it more consistently. Let's show, I think mid-range is a bit too far, but Okay, let's do mid-range, right? So I'm doing this thing, and I want to bounce them over way to the other side. Like this with the JSJH. So if you're too far from the wall, it will not work. Right, like this. So they have to be a bit closer, just tiny bit closer, like here. And that's how you do it. Usually, remember, you won't be crossing up just from the RC because you're punishing from like here, right? So just keep these things in mind. Again, like doing the TK mix is, I think, the easiest way to change sides, but the jump option is still viable. You can still use it. Right, so up to you, however you want to use it. Generally speaking, going for the normal RC is very good. And if you can do it, it is better, but as you can see, sometimes normal RC just doesn't hit, and you have to go for that to cross up. So up to you, whatever you want to do. I'm just giving you the options. With that said, let's go into aerial combos. I believe we can go into aerial combos. Oh, let me mention one more thing, I guess, that has to do with J2K. The RC from J2K JH, the fast RC, like this, I said, so can lead to a wall slump situation. So you'll see a lot of combos that like keep the opponent on the ground will have these kind of like fast J2Ks into JH, right? So it's either like this setup, right? So if you're trying to create wall slumps, now again, I'm not saying you should, I'm just saying if you want to, okay? So you can use this trick, like the faster CJH, in order to create wall slumps. If you don't feel like doing it, don't do it. I don't think it's very important to learn, but it is something you can learn, right? And practicing this will help you practice like fast RCs, like the tempo for them. So yeah, let's move to aerial combos. Now, in the air, if you get a normal hit on J2K, sometimes you will get to combo, right? But most times you'll be a bit too far from MixMixMix to get anything done, which is kind of sad. Everybody wishes MixMixMix was just 1 frame faster, right? Here I got it. But again, this is pretty uncommon situations. Most time where you get like these aerial J2Ks actually from doing like a JK first. So this is kind of like how it looks like, and in these situations you actually do get to combo pretty often, and you can often even break the wall, so just keep that in mind. Yeah, so great. If you are landing it close enough to the ground, the J2K, right, let me try and show that. I think you could see it in the beginning. The first one I got was like comboing into 2S somehow, which is pretty like rare. Yeah, sometimes you can get these kind of like 5Ks or like extra like air hits. It does happen sometimes, right? This is pretty rare. I wouldn't like count on it. I wouldn't think about it too much, but as an option, sometimes you want to follow up with 5K in these situations. Okay, just keep that in mind. And the combo I just did into JH does not work on most of the cast. Just for the record, it's like a Faust combo. So yeah, don't think about it too much. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Usually you'll have to do car mix to actually combo there. I want to show the car mix, even though you guys know how it looks like. Yeah, and then you can do like something like this. Get a wall break. Not that bad. Again, not common. Don't think about it too much. Once you get counter hits, depending on your spacing, you can get like a very nice hit, or you just go for the mix route. If you are high up in the air, just go for the mix route. Right? That's what you want to do. You do this, and depending on the character, you can do different combos. Make sure that you don't cross up if you don't want to. It happens more often since they changed MixMixMix, just because of how fast you are. So if you do get it, don't worry about it too much. Just go for like a close slash MixMixMix, or just a close slash 2S MixMixMix, whatever you prefer doing, right? Or thrust, right? All depends on what you like, or what the matchup is, I guess. So this combo, you know it, super common. If you are closer to the ground though, you can actually get insane pickups from a J2K, as you can see right here. This is, again, one of these like super normal BNBs where we do like a close slash JS, JH into air dash into either a loop or JK, JD, 6H. So there's a ton of different enders you can use. They're all good. As you can see, the damage difference in the end is not like anything big, right? They're all around like the 190 to 200, like 5 or so. So just use whatever you find appropriate for the spacing. Of course, if you get these in the air, it's pretty much the same tips from before. Just that here, if your back's to the wall, then maybe you do want to get that cross up, right? So just keep all these things in mind. The combos don't change a lot, except for that low J2K counter hit. They can combo to either close slash or a 5K. As you can see here, just showing one more ender, 5K 6H. Thrust into 6H. And I think that does it for today. We may have gotten over an hour. I actually think we have. We have. Okay, we have. So with that said, I believe I'm going to close today's video and the Faust Normalized series as a whole. I hope this series was useful to any of you budding Faust players. It was useful to me working on it, helped me understand some things, solidify all sorts of ideas around normals, what I want to think about when I'm using them, stop jumping Faust. And as a whole, I hope this entire thing was useful. As question already were asked, I will make a small series on Faust specials and supers. I don't know if right now, I gotta finish my degree first, but for now, you guys have a degree in Faust, okay? You got your bachelor's in Faust normals. And I hope you pop off as Faust players, okay? That's all I have to say. I'm not being emotional or anything. So I guess I'll see you on the next one, whatever video that may be. And yeah, go have fun with this awesome character. He's normal now. Oh, bye, I guess. Bye.